If you like the video or any other content on the channel, feel free to subscribe. We're getting closer and closer to 500, so subscribe if you like the content. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. So this video is going to be going over the May 18th RTT that I went to up in Sackville, New Brunswick, at a store called Vortex. It was a great atmosphere. Staff is super friendly. It was a good time. So I did go 2-1. I did lose for first place, so I did almost get first. If I would have won that game, it would have been pretty cool for the Custodes. I did win against the Black Templars and the Speed Freak Orcs. I think it's the Cult of Speed, I do believe what they were. And then I did lose against the Sisters for first place. Had a lot of fun. Besides the Sisters game, the list performed fantastic. I should have gone with a few more reps with Canis before I did go to the tournament. I only really had time to get him painted and stuff, and had one game with him before the tournament. A couple more games with him probably would have had some better results, especially for the last game. Now I'm going to go over each one of the games and just how the list performed and how I did against each one of these armies. Game 1, like I said, was against the Black Templars and was Dawn of War, Purge the Foe, and Chilling Reign. And that game I won 84-68. Draxus and the Knight were the MVP of this game. Draxus was incredibly deadly into Space Marines. Draxus killed 2 or 3 units just by herself. We had a few Redemptor Dreadnoughts, and it just wasn't enough firepower to really threaten Rex, so I was able to use Rex quite aggressively and use him as a bully unit. Purge the Foe made it really easy for me to max primary. It was pretty hard for him to kill more than me. Most of the time I was killing something and killing more for each of the battle rounds. And the Black Templars took fixed objectives, so he took engage and deploy, and he scored a lot of secondaries. He's got a lot more secondaries than he did primary, and it was close to all game until turn 4. He was starting to run out of units to score his secondaries. I had 4 of the 5 objectives by turn 4. And then the Custodes melee profiles of 82 damage to is really deadly into Marines. I was able to kind of get into combat with them and wipe units quite easily with my Custodes. And this was a pretty fun game. The player of the Black Templars was a little less experienced, but he knew his army quite well. It was a pretty fun game. We had a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. There wasn't any kind of controversies, anything like that. It was pretty fun. Good game. Great opponent. All right, now to game 2. So game 2, it was Custodes versus Orcs, and the Orcs were the Cult of Speed Detachment, and the Custodes won 85-80 for this one. Custodes went first. I do believe the Black Templars went first again in game 1. This was the closest and the most fun game of the tournament. The guy really knew his army well. Canis Rex was once again an MVP in this game. The Blade Champion and the Wardens were extremely helpful for getting points. I was able to drop them on his home objective, wipe out his grots, and just be a pain in the butt sitting on that objective, gaining secondaries and primaries for a lot of the game. Rex himself, he killed at least 600 to 800 points of models himself. He was amazing. He was charged one turn and he was brought down to 2 wounds, and I was able to kill all 3 of the buggies next to him in the following turn, so he was a monster. Luckily for me, I was able to keep him alive until the bottom of turn 4, and it really helped me score some points and take out some really strong and annoying models that would have been harder for my infantry to take out. The reactive move and the fallback stratagems were key in this match. I was always able to keep him away, make his charges harder, make his charges fail, fall back into combat so I can re-engage to get fight first. Those 2 stratagems were amazing in this match. The Custodes firepower from my Caladius tanks and the Canis Rex, I was able to kill multiple vehicles per turn. And eventually, once he was out of the vehicles, I was able to push up and be a lot more aggressive with my Rex and the rest of my army. So I was able to kind of put the pressure onto him early. And on to the third match. And this was for first place. And it was a rematch of the RTT from last tournament, except instead of for second, we were playing for first. It was against the Adeptus Sororitas, so the Sisters. And it was Search and Destroy, Supply Drop, and Chilling Reign. And this one I did take quite a hefty loss. It was 81-39. I took fixed, and I still think it was the right play, but I was a bit too aggressive. It's even the same mission too with supply drop, and it was even on my favor where the last Omega was going to be, but I was too aggressive with my Blade Champions. I'll go over the game a little bit here, but it was kind of my game to lose, I think, with how the objective was placed, and I kind of made some big key mistakes, and my opponent really knew how to use her sisters well. And the sisters seemed quite good at killing my 3 wound models quite easily, it seemed. Like, so she could get them into her shooting range, they were dying left and right. So hats off to her, and she was able to target the Blade Blade Champions unit and completely wipe them. So, and that was in turn 2. Then I wasn't quite able to recover from that because that was a big chunk of my army and my game plan gone. Sisters Melter Weapons, man, those things are deadly, especially on more involved where she can re-roll her hits and re-roll the wounds. It's deadly to the Custodes. She can use those, and the sisters can use the Miracle Dice, guaranteeing the damage 3 to take out my Custodes. We have the smaller model count, so if they can reliably kill Custodes models every turn, every shooting phase, it makes it hard for us. My opponent, a fantastic player, knows both the sisters and the Custodes quite well, knows the weaknesses of the Custodes. Rematch, I lost again, but it's always fun. I like playing against players that are better than me or strive to make me better. Hoping to play Willow again in the next RTT, and this time maybe the Custodes will come out on top. Was able to take out a quite strong list. I was able to beat the Orcs, who were quite strong, and the Black Templars. So to make it this far, I'm quite happy. I'm quite proud. I ended up getting 4th place with this loss. Still, it was pretty cool because if I had a won, I would have got first. And then I think once I get a win at the RTT, I will eventually move on to a GT. It's just that a 2-day tournament is going to be pretty hard for my back and standing there all day with a busted disc. Alright, so let's go into how I feel the actual list did perform. Even with the loss to the sisters, I really enjoyed this list. It was fun. It felt a lot more different than the usual list I run, where it's a bunch of wardens, stand on objectives, run at me, I'll fight first. I'll pop all my 4 feel no pains, my -1 damage. This was a lot more fun. I had to use my brain a lot more. It felt like I was a higher skill ceiling army. Even with Rex and the tanks, they are quite, they're big units, they're expensive, they're kind of simple. It was fun to have a little bit of variation instead of all infantry, stand on objectives, come at me. The secondary scoring wasn't as hindering as I thought it would be. Hopefully with a few points cuts, I'll be able to fit a few more chaff units into this list. If I could fit a few more Witchseeker units, I think this list would be even better. But I thought I would be really struggling to score secondaries with this list, and oddly enough, my scoring was pretty high. I didn't really crack the 90s, but I was into the 80s in the wins that I did get, so I'm pretty happy with that. Not too bad for a list that didn't have a lot of secondary scoring. Canis Rex, so how was he? I think he was a great addition to this list. I think I need a few more games with him before the tournament. I was only able to get 1 game in with him with this list, and he is either a great bully unit against the Orcs and the Black Templars. They just didn't really have an answer for him. If they ran up and charged him, they weren't able to kill him, and then he would kill everything back and then get a shooting turn and then charge something else. So Rex was a nightmare for them. But in other games, I think he'd be better behind the Wardens as a counter charge threat. Against the Sisters, I think I should have made her come at me and then use Rex as a shooting and use the tanks a little bit more to get some of those units closer to me, and then maybe come out a little aggressive with the Wardens and then Rex behind them. I think I should have done that. That was probably my mistake for that one. I still think this is a real strong list. I probably won't use it too much on the channel unless someone requests a competitive match against the Custodes. They want the best I have. I think this is probably the best. Toy around Orc a little bit for a competitive match, but I still think this Talons list is quite strong. And I would love to actually have a detachment rule. Yes, a 5-up feel no pain to mortals is technically a detachment rule, but it's a really poor one for the Custodes. I would really like something like a +2 to movement army-wide, as well as a 5-up feel no pain to devastating wounds and mortal wounds if you're close to the Sisters, if you're within that 6 inches. That would give you maybe a little more protection against devastating wounds and add a little more, something special to the detachment to make you take it. It would add some +2 to movement, so it would make those slow dreadnoughts up to movement 8 to make them usable. Terminators move 7 just to give you a little more threat, and you make Custodes feel a little different. They'd be the speedy kind of detachment. The Talons and the Emperor, you're speedy, you got your sisters in there, you have a little bit of synergy with trying to keep them close together. But right now, a 5-up feel no pain to mortals, I don't even take sisters for it. I had the unit of prosecutors on my list, and that was it, and I didn't miss having any more. Except for the secondary. I didn't miss not having for the detachment. I missed having Witchseekers for the secondaries that they're great at doing. And with this list, I felt every unit had its purpose. It's like I keep saying, it's my favorite list so far in the Codex that I have made so far. And the reactive moving the Custodes all the time instead of just once with the Sleeveless Hunter, it feels fun. Just because Sleeveless Hunter used to be amazing. You would take that just so you could have the once per game reactive movement. Having the option to use that all game, use it for free with your shield captain, double up of it if you need to. It's really helpful. It's fun. I really like that style of play. My final thoughts for this video in the tournament. So it was a great tournament, lots of fun, and there's lots of variation in skill level. There wasn't wasn't just a bunch of high level players there. That way if someone new came in, they felt really daunted. There was some medium, beginner, and some pretty good players. It was probably even between all those. It wasn't really stacked one side, so it was a really even, fun tournament. Players were all friendly, great environment. This was the first tournament I went to, and so far I've gone to everyone since then, and I'll be there at the next one. I really enjoy the environment. I haven't really done any competitive kind of board game stuff before, so this has been quite a fun experience. I do believe the next RTT in Vortex will be in late June or early July, and we may even have our own in the summer. You never know. So Necron Mike went 2-1 as well. He wasn't quite as high scoring, so he wasn't quite in the race for first. He did get 6th place because he did lose to the player who got 2nd place in Game 3. He still had a great time, and going 2-1 in his first tournament is pretty good. It's really good. I think that's what I win as well, so hats off to him. You can't be sad with that. Custodes are still a good army, but there's little room for error now. The skill ceiling went way up with no protection against devastating wounds, no fight first. You really have to know your units. You really have to position well, and that's what burned me in Game 3. I did some poor positioning, and I paid for it dearly. So I will test Orc and Shield Host some more before the next RTT, just in case I can find some sort of hidden gem list that I will rank above this list. But for now, I probably still will run a variation or this exact same list in the next RTT if the data slate hasn't came up by then. The next video coming up is going to be the Orc competitive list, and then we're going to have a few Tal related videos, battle reports with them, and maybe a little focus on some of the detachments, but we'll still always be focused on Custodes. Custodes is our jam, but I do want to add some more factions on here just to bring some more people in and add some more entertainment to the channel when we're watching battle reports, and just so it's not just the same armies over and over again. I want you guys to be able to come here for a quick battle report, but still a fun and interesting battle report. And like I always say, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by.